Welcome to the Power of Offense with Keith and Rodney, and I'm your host, Keith, and right below me on your screen is your host, Rodney.
Greetings, peace to the gods.
Today, we're going to discuss Sleepy Joe Biden, all right? Now, as you can see on this article, it says that Joe Biden warns democratic progress is under assault from authoritarian regimes, right? So what the hell does that mean? First thing I think we should do, Rodney, is define authoritarian. I
Yeah,
think that's the first thing we should do.
yeah, old Sleepy Joe, man.
Yeah. Authoritarian is favoring or enforcing strict obedience to authority, especially that of the government at the expense of personal freedom. That's interesting. Strict obedience to authority, right? Or strict obedience to the government at the expense of personal freedom. Now I know Sleepy Joe can't be talking about this, man. He can't be talking about our government, right? Our progress as a republic is under assault from an authoritarian regime, and he's not even talking about himself. But I'm gonna get into that more later. We're gonna unpack this, Rodney, because we're going somewhere with this today.
Absolutely.
So here we go. This article right here, y'all, was published by the USA Today, and it's only a couple days old. It says President Joe Biden issued a clarion call on Friday to the world's democracies. So he issued a call to the world's democracies, right? Saying that representative
to the rest of the mob.
Say that again, Rodney.
To the rest of the mob.
Exactly. To the rest of the mob, saying that representative governments are under assault from authoritarian regimes seeking to dominate the global order. This is what he's saying, right? He said we must demonstrate that democracy can deliver for our people in this changed world. Biden said this during a virtual session of the Munich Security Conference. Now I'm like, first of all, what is he talking about? We don't have no damn democracy here in America. No, we don't. And I'm gonna prove it to you all. What we have here in America is a Republican form of government. Now this right here, as you see on your screen, I already have it highlighted. It's from Article 4, Section 4 of our Constitution. The United States shall guarantee to every state in the Union a Republican form of government. We have a republic. Some people call it a representative republic, but we do not have a democracy. So he is wrong when he says that.
But the question is, why is he saying democracy?
Oh, we gonna get
why
there.
Are our politicians, why are our scholars, why is everyone talking about democracy? You know, why are they trying to impregnate this thought process in the people's minds, in the people's DNA? You know what I'm saying? Why are they teaching this shit in school? That, to me, that's the bigger question. Because people look at us like, what are you talking about? Democracy is what it's supposed to be. But democracy is not what it's supposed to be because we're misinformed, miseducated, and we're unintelligent right now. So we need to, I'm gonna listen on to what you're saying because you're breaking it down masterfully.
Thank you. And you're right, Rodney. The people are misinformed, uninformed, and unintelligent. But that's why we're here at the Power of Offense. We're here to entertain you with legal commentary from a layman's point of view because you can learn and be entertained at the same time, right? We make this shit fun. And we point out all the facts. That's what we do here. Because again, when I hear him say authoritarian regime, I'm confused. I'm like, dude, it sounds like you're talking about yourself to me. You know? I don't see the difference between authoritarian and totalitarian. It seems the same to me. And like Thomas Sowell said, these people are totalitarian.
These people are closet totalitarians. There's just no question about it. They are so convinced that they know that what's best for us and that we poor dummies that we are would never understand it. That this is the kind of stuff you can expect. Once you agree to give the government this huge amount of power, it's like opening the floodgates. And when you open the floodgates, you can't tell the water where to go. And so if you give the government enough power to quote, create social justice, you've given them enough power to make life miserable for millions of people.
Now, check this out. I have a definition for totalitarian for those who are confused. It says relating to a system of government that is centralized and dictatorial and requires complete subservience to the state. So that's what Thomas Sowell is talking about when he said that these people are totalitarian. I agree with him. But let's take it a step further, Rodney. Let's take it a step further. Because like I said, I don't really see the full difference between totalitarian and authoritarian. They seem very similar to me, almost synonymous.
Yeah, they are synonyms.
But check this out. Britannica Encyclopedia says that totalitarianism attempts to do this by asserting total control over the lives of its citizens, whereas authoritarianism prefers the blind submission of its citizens to authority. While totalitarian states tend to have a highly developed guiding ideology, authoritarian states usually do not. So based upon what Britannica is saying, I have to agree again 100% with Thomas Sowell that these people like Joe Biden are totalitarian. And I'm going to prove this as we go on. We're going to unpack this. And the reason why I'm saying this is because they have a highly developed guide of ideology that they're following, right? And they're openly attempting to assert total control over the lives of the citizens, right? This is what they're attempting to do, regardless of your personal freedoms and your rights.
They're actually doing both. You know what I'm saying? Because they're asserting total control over the lives of the citizens, and they also hitting us with the blind submission. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
We're submitting to it blindly because we're uninformed, unintelligent, and miseducated.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? By the system that teaches us. So therefore, we're trained to submit by
Facts.
not understanding what's going on, by not knowing civics and your rights, and what, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's really, it's actually mad. But go ahead.
Operating like mindless automatons, man. It makes no sense. But let's go back to this article about Sleepy Joe. Let's go back and let's hear what Sleepy Joe had to say. So again, he said that we must demonstrate that democracy, right? I'm gonna rephrase what he says. We must demonstrate that republic or Republican form of government can still deliver to our people in this changed world. And this is what I'm saying, right? And this is what he should have said to the Munich Security Conference during his virtual session. Now, Joe Biden goes on and he says that, in my view, is our galvanizing mission. And this is what he told world leaders in his first speech to the international audience since taking office, right? So this is what he's saying. He's saying that he believes, right, that democracy could deliver to the people. What is democracy? Well, let's go right back to the 1928 citizenship manual that was issued by the War Department, aka the Department of Defense. Let's take a look at what it has to say about democracy. And again, this is Training Manual 2000-25,
which is housed and kept under the custodial of the United States Library of Congress. So you can go get an authenticated document of this very book, and it shows as authenticated evidence that this is what our War Department of Defense defined democracy as and taught its soldiers what it was.
Exactly.
Based on the Constitution.
Exactly. Democracy is a government of the masses. Authority derived through mass meeting or any other form of direct expression. It results in mobocracy. That means the mob rules. The mob takes over.
Majority.
Like the cancel culture. The majority takes over. Attitude towards property is communistic. Don't forget that, y'all. Communistic. Negating property rights, meaning that under a democracy, private property rights, right, is not respected. So all of you all who are property owners, you should feel some kind of way about that. Yes, you should. If you own property, whether it be a house, whether it be any type of real property or even personal property like a car, anything, you should feel some kind of way that the attitude towards property and the democracy is communistic. This is what our government was teaching back in 1928. It says the attitude towards law is that the will of the majority should regulate, whether it be upon deliberation or governed by passion. Listen to this: passion, prejudice, right? Especially us as black people, aren't we always talking about prejudice? We don't like when people are prejudiced towards us. Impulse, without restraint or regard to consequence. That is democracy. It results in demagogism, license, agitation, discontent, and eventually anarchy. I don't think that's what none of us want here in America. What do you think, Rodney?
But if they knew what it actually meant, they wouldn't want it. But the fact that they were taught through the school system that democracy is where it's supposed to be, you know, they're just taking it on by face value, as opposed to doing their research. But they don't have a reason to do research because this is what their government is telling them, and they don't believe that the government will mislead them, miseducate them, and ultimately make them unintelligent.
But it is. Isn't that the interesting?
But it has done that, yeah, ever since 1928.
Yep. But let's go back to this article, because again, we have to unpack this for y'all, right? So Joe Biden told the world leaders, y'all, that this is his galvanizing mission to spread democracy, mobocracy, communism. This is what he was saying. Instead of saying Republican form of government, of which is guaranteed under Article 4, Section 4. But let's keep going. The article goes on and it says Biden's visceral appeal to America's allies represents a 180-degree turnaround from the Trump era, and some European diplomats may still be suffering from whiplash. It came on the same day the U.S. formally rejoined the Paris Climate Accord, and as the White House committed $4 billion of our tax money, y'all, to a global vaccine initiative, both of which the Trump administration spurned. Now, I agree with the Trump administration on that. Why the hell do we got to pay $4 billion of our tax money for the whole damn world? That don't make sense to me.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense whenever we have the most deaths on the whole planet by far. It's closing in on 500,000 people since within the year. So
exactly,
that's a lot if it's real.
And Rodney, what's the natural law? What does natural law say about survival of the fittest? Basically, you have a duty to protect yourself first, to survive first before you can help anybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't we need to focus on what's going on here in America first before we give away $4 billion to these world organizations, these globalist organizations?
Yeah, Congress is doing a horrible job. They're supposed to regulate commerce to benefit the people, but instead they turned it over to organizations like the World Trade Organization, or they turned over our health to the World Health Organization. Those organizations are well ran, whenever we should be focused on the American people. You know what I'm saying? That $4 billion can go towards the American people to help train them for the workforce to rebuild our country.
Exactly. To rebuild our infrastructure. Exactly, right.
Yeah, and to seek proper vaccines, because there's way more different cures and healings other than the vaccine. The vaccine, I don't know how the vaccine will work as much as the virus has been mutating. You know what I'm saying? Because you can only give a vaccine of what you have. So if you get a vaccine of the coronavirus, but yet it's every day changing, you know, that's why people that's been taking the vaccine, some of them have been testing positive again, because it doesn't protect you against all the strands. So, I mean,
facts.
It's just, and plus you was born with a vaccine, but go ahead.
Right.
I don't want to digress anymore.
Right. That's real. I'm with you on that. Now, back to the article, y'all. It says a promise to earn back trust. Now, whose trust is he talking about? Let's see, right? Let's see if he's talking about earning back the trust of the American people. Biden has made it clear that he wants to repair America's alliances after 4 years in which former President Donald Trump alienated key U.S. partners with his abrasive style and erratic, sometimes punitive foreign policy. So obviously, he's not talking about the American people. He's talking about earning back the trust of the world leaders. So Joe Biden, he used the speech to try to erase any lingering doubt, as he put it, about America's commitment to its alliances. He reiterated U.S. support for NATO and noted that he has paused Trump's order to withdraw U.S. troops from Germany. Now, my thing is this. Again, I agree with Trump's foreign policies. Why are we footing the bill for the world? Shouldn't all of the other developed countries of this world, like Germany, right? Shouldn't they have to pay their portion towards NATO just like we do? Why are we covering everybody's expense? And again, this is our tax money we're talking about.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing, how can we give money we don't have? You know, if we trillion some dollars in debt, how can we continually give? Like, what are we giving?
I agree.
It's really not clear. How can a person in debt endorse a person that don't have money give money? You know what I'm saying? How can you borrow money to give it away? I mean,
Rob Peter
commerce
to
is
pay
not
Paul.
adding up.
Exactly, Rodney. Now, the article goes on and it says, in quotes, now this is Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe saying this, I know the past few years have strained and tested our transatlantic relationship, but the U.S. is determined, he said, to re-engage and to earn back our position of trust and leadership. He said that the global geopolitical challenges from the COVID-19 pandemic, right, to the technological revolution demanded a more unified approach from the U.S. and Europe. Joe Biden also said,
See, to me, he talking about slavery, system, racism, white supremacy. He talking about the transatlantic relationship. So the transatlantic relationship started back in slavery. So that relationship still is alive today because no one of color or black folks are benefiting from these relationships. So
right.
So again, who is he trying to better or make whole? Is it is it the American people? Because to me, this is a shot.
Well, check this out, right? Check this out. This next sentence is very interesting. Check this out. Joe Biden says, we are in the midst of a fundamental debate about the future and direction of our world. Between those who argue that autocracy is the best way forward and those who understand that democracy is essential to meeting these challenges. This is what he said. Now, he's saying that some people believe autocracy is the best way, but he's trying to say that democracy is. This is what Joe Biden is saying. Now, Joe Biden is either an idiot or he's intentionally misleading the world. Because again, we do not have a democracy here in America. We already showed this. Our Constitution says we have a Republican form of government. That's what's guaranteed to all of the citizens and the states. But he keep on saying democracy, right? Now, we already seen in the manual what it said about democracy.
Yeah.
So what do you think going on right here, Rodney?
Yeah, it's more what I just said. You know, to me, it's the way what he's doing. He's just fine tuning the legalese as not taught in the educational system. Right. So they know the layout of how the American educational system has been used. So therefore, he knows that he can use wordplay, and they wouldn't understand what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? They think democracy is what it is because that's what they teach in school. Right. You know, that's what their teachers say. That's what lawyers say. That's what scholarships say. That's what the president is saying. That's what Congress is saying. So it's hard to go against that mob. You know, because they control the media.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying? How many people we don't have the audience that they have in order to compete with what they're saying. So,
You right.
so this will have the snowball effect in order to wake the people up, because this is very dangerous with the wordplay that they're using and where they're taking the country in general. I mean, it's crazy.
I agree. Now check this out. The article goes on and says that Biden calls out China, right? China Joe calls out China. Isn't that interesting? And Russia. So it says he signaled out Russia for its attacks on U.S. democracy. Now, shouldn't it say on U.S. Republican form of government or on our U.S. Republic? Shouldn't it say that? He signaled out Russia for its attacks on our U.S. Republic. And then China for its predatory practices or predatory trade practices and human rights abuses. It says while Trump often demurred to Moscow, Biden was pointed. The Kremlin attacks our democracies and weaponizes corruption to try to undermine our system of governance, he said. So this is what Joe Biden said again. He keep on referring to our country as a democracy, right? So the question is he an idiot or is he intentionally doing this? Is it some type of an agenda? Now, I assure everybody there's an agenda. There is an agenda, right?
Yeah.
Joe Biden is not an idiot in the sense that he don't know what he's talking about, what he's saying.
Yeah, I would choose the latter.
Exactly. So it goes on and says, turning to China, right? Biden called for a collective response to the Chinese government's economic abuses and coercion that undercut the foundations of the international economic system. He said democratic nations need to push back against those who will monopolize and normalize repression, a clear reference to Beijing's surveillance tactics. Now, this is what he's saying, right? That this is the same man that keep on attempting to call our republic here in America a democracy, right? This is what Joe Biden is saying. He's turning around saying that we need to push back on the Communist Party of China. But I have something interesting to show everybody, right? Let's check something out.
At least China is honest with their surveillance tactics, as opposed to the United States not being candid with the American people with the way that they're surveilling the people. That's like how many times did you videotape today? Is it just in everyday travel? You know what I'm saying? So we're being videotaped, and it's clearly that the internet is being monitored, and the phones are also being tapped, because Edward Snowden exposed all this.
President Biden, before he became vice president, was against this spying, this data collection, and said it's very intrusive. We're going to trust the president and vice president to do the right thing. Don't count me in on that.
The real question here is, what do they do with this information that they collect that does not have anything to do with Al Qaeda? And we're going to trust the president and the vice president of the United States that they're doing the right thing. Don't count me in on that.
But he changed his tune once he was in power.
Yeah, and again, this was the same for President-elect Barack Obama.
Some people say, well, Obama was this raving liberal before, now he's, Dick Cheney.
He tells this very briefly in his memoir. He said, he was campaigning against mass surveillance. Yeah, it was wrong. Yeah, it shouldn't have been done. It was a problem, so on and so forth. But then he says, after he became president, he realized he was seeing that from the cheap seats. And now Bush's wars were his wars.
So we're not just saying it's already documented. That's why, documented. That's why they're trying to get rid of Julian Assange.
Absolutely.
They don't even have jurisdiction to deal with Julian Assange because he's not an American citizen. They're trying to say that he coerced or solicited information from an American citizen, so therefore they have jurisdiction. Nah, they don't have jurisdiction over that. But you know what I'm saying. But it all boils up to what you're saying.
Absolutely. Now check this out, y'all. We have some sayings from Mao Zedong. All right, quotations from him. Right, Mao Zedong. Who was a teacher of socialism and communism. Right now, we got to go back to this because we're framing this. We're framing this, y'all. Sleepy Joe, China Joe. We're gonna deal with him. Now, check this out. Mao Zedong said this, right? And this is a part of his quotes from the Chinese Revolution and the Chinese Communist Party. Now, this is from December 1939. All right, y'all. And they even cited what volume, which is volume 2, and what pages, 332 through 331. This is what Mao Zedong had to say. Taken as a whole, the Chinese revolutionary movement led by the Communist Party, right? The same Chinese Communist Party that runs China today, embraces 2 stages, being the democratic and the socialistic revolutions, which are 2 essentially different revolutionary processes, and the second process can be carried through only after the first has been completed. The democratic revolution is the necessary preparation for the socialist revolution, and the socialist revolution is the inevitable sequel to the democratic revolution. The ultimate aim for all communists, or the ultimate aim for which all communists strive, is to bring about a socialist and communist society. So what I get from what Sleepy Joe was saying, or shall I say China Joe was saying, right? When I hear him say democracy, I hear him saying that we're in the first stage, right? The first stage of embracing communism. This is what I hear. How about you, Rodney?
Yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. And it didn't start with Sleepy Joe. It started a long time ago.
Yep.
And because it started with the dumb, and they couldn't pull this off without a compliance of the citizenry. You know, so the fact that the people are going along with democracy, they're beating it down our throat because we don't know better. They took it out of civics. They took it out of our education system to not to understand what's being said to us today. So the fact that this is the early stage of communism, which is democracy, socialism, and everything. Yep. Everyone should be free to operate in commerce and live their lives in peace as long as they don't infringe on anyone else's rights. But the way that they're trying to do it in the United States is right in line with it, but they're pretending to call China out. But if you look at it, you know, with your glasses on, you can clearly see that you're following their same path. It's just taking longer because they have to dumb down the American people and do the best that they can to de-arm us.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? I assure everyone that Joe Biden is in bed with the Chinese Communist Party. Now, how do we know this? Well, I'm going to take it a step further and prove it to you how we know. But I'm also going to throw this in there. The fact that he loves to use the word democracy, right? And Joe Biden is an attorney. Joe Biden knows that we don't have a democracy in America. He knows we have a republic. But he chooses to say democracy because he has an agenda. So does the Democratic Party and all of the affiliates. And some Republicans are tied into this also. Now I'm gonna show something. I got a video, right, that I'm about to play. I want everybody to see this because we unpacking this, right?
Yeah, this is very important for people to understand. Like, this type of stuff should be taught in school.
Indeed. Now this video is of Tucker Carlson. All right, Tucker Carlson is about to lay out some damning information.
Now, one should remember. I know as I do now, but I didn't always. I listened to the message and not the messenger. So if you pay attention to the messenger, you can be skewed by subjective opinion. But if you listen to the message and verify the message, then you can see it in a what you witness in a objective way. So I'm not a fan of Tucker Carlson, but I listen to the message, and when the message is correct and is verifiable, I don't care who says it. Right, I don't care if it's somebody I like or dislike on this. Today, I don't like either side, but I listen to their messages and I decipher it based on what I know.
Facts.
We want to start tonight with evidence, with a remarkable video. This video was recorded a little over a week ago, on November 28th. The man you're about to see speak is a professor from Beijing called Dong Cheng. The video comes from an appearance that he made on a Chinese television show about Wall Street and international trade. Dong Cheng works at Renmin University in Beijing. He is also, like so many in academia in China, a servant of his country's government. This video was deleted from Chinese social media soon after being uploaded, and there's a reason for that, as you'll see.
偏偏特朗普政府跟我们打贸易战，那么我们为什么搞不定特朗普政府？啊，为什么以前1992年到2016年之间，中美之间各种问题都能搞得定？是不是？大家发现没有？所有的危机，不管是银河号事件，还是炸大使馆，还是撞了飞机，所有事情全部是床头吵架床尾和，2个月之内搞定。什么原因？啊，这儿我抛出一个可能又要是暴论了，就是因为咱们上边有人，啊，就是我们在美国的权。
I'm gonna stop right there. Did you just see what this man said? Let me go back. Let me go back some. And we're gonna read this out what he just said. It was explosive. He said, I'm going to throw out something maybe a little bit explosive here, right?
就是因为咱们
It's just because we have people at the top.
上边有人，啊，就是我们在
at the top of America's core inner circle of power and influence. He's saying that the Chinese Communist Party had people that's at the core of our inner circle of power and influence. This is what he's saying. But let's keep going.
So that would mean those who regulate our commerce,
yep,
those who regulate our laws, those who prosecute, in other words, inner circle of those powerful in Congress and other branches of government.
Those who like to use
go ahead.
Those who like to use the word democracy. To check this out, it's more.
在美国的权势核心圈啊，我们有我们的老朋友。
We have our old friends. Who are these old friends?
There's a lot of garbage floating around the internet right now, a lot of fake things. That video is real, and those subtitles are accurate. We checked today with 2 different Chinese speakers and confirmed that. What he just said, what you just read on the screen, tells the story. This is as close to a smoking gun as we have ever seen. Quote, we have people at the top of America's core inner circle of power and influence. According to the man you just saw, that has been true for decades. So who are these people, and how many of them work in our media and in our government? Well, he didn't say precisely. At one point in the video, he described a Chinese agent working as a vice president at, quote, a top Wall Street financial institution. I can't say more, he explained, without making political trouble. Di Dongsheng did tell his audience that one agent in particular was especially useful, and he goes on at some length about her. He describes her as an American who's lived abroad for many years, who is now a Chinese citizen. And this seems to baffle him a little bit. The Chinese government doesn't allow dual citizenship. Why would they? Why would anyone? Di Dongsheng seems pleased that the US government is foolish enough to allow it. He explains that this American agent, who lives at least part of the year in Beijing, helped the Chinese government with a propaganda operation in the city of Washington in 2015. And he goes on to describe that in some detail. The Obama administration was easy to manipulate, he suggests. They helped. The Chinese had many friends among the Obama people. The problem came when Donald Trump was elected. After that, he says, everything changed.
是呢，就过去这个30年啊，过去40年，我们在
For the past 30, 40 years, he's saying we have been utilizing the core power of the United States.
美国的它的这个利用它权势核心圈，是不是？我前面讲过，华尔街在1970年代开始对美国它的内政外交有非常强的影响力，啊，所以我们有路径依赖，是吧？但问题是08年之后，华尔街的地位下降了，更重要的是16年之后，华尔街搞不定特朗普。
He said Wall Street couldn't fix Trump. So Wall Street is in bed with the Chinese Communist Party. This is what he's saying. But they couldn't fix Trump. Let's keep going.
为什么？很尴尬。特朗普以前对华尔街有过一次软性违约，所以双方有矛盾啊。当然，这个细节我就不多说了，时间可能已经来不及了，是吧？那么， 这个中美贸易战过程中，他们也试图帮忙啊。据我所知，美方的朋友跟我讲，这个试图帮忙，但是啊，力有不逮啊。
Since the 1970s, he said, and he's an economics professor, you should know, Wall Street has had enormous influence over the way the United States government operates, over American policy. The Chinese government, he says, has enormous influence on Wall Street. And that arrangement worked very well for a long time. Then Donald Trump unexpectedly was elected in 2016, and Wall Street was infuriated. Wall Street can't fix Trump, he said, but they tried. And this solves the mystery. If you're wondering why our political class has stood by and allowed the Chinese government to degrade this country and our way of life, why they've stood by as the Chinese government has flooded the United States with deadly opioids that have killed hundreds of thousands of people, or have stood by as the Chinese government ripped off billions in intellectual property from our companies, there's your answer. Earlier this year, the chairman of Harvard's chemistry department was arrested for taking $50,000 a month from the Communist Party of China in return for sending secrets and referring top scientists to Beijing. It barely rated as a scandal. You may not even be aware it happened. Why? Because so many are on the take, in effect. Donald Trump was an impediment to this very lucrative arrangement. And for that reason, Di Zhongsheng explains in the video, America's most powerful elites, and he calls them that, got to work on electing a new president. Again, read the words at the bottom of your screen as he speaks.
但现在呢？现在我们看到，
But now we're seeing Biden was elected.
拜登上台了。传统的精英、政治精英啊，这个建制派，他们跟华尔街的关系是非常密切的。所以大家看到吧，拜登的儿子被特朗普说你在全球有什么基金公司，发现没有？谁帮他建的基金公司啊？明白吗？这个都有买卖啊。那么，所以这个时候啊，这个时候我们。
Oh, Donald Trump, he notes, because the Chinese do pay close attention to what we say here. Donald Trump has complained about Hunter Biden and his ties to the Chinese government. Those are real, he just confirms. So now you know why you weren't allowed to talk about Hunter Biden's laptop, why big business aligned as one, the tech companies and the rest, to suppress that story, because they were implicated in it. Back in October, we interviewed a man called Tony Bobulinski. We interviewed him because no one else would. Tony Bobulinski was a business partner of the Bidens. Here's what he told us about China.
And in a document that you guys have, and I think it's been provided to to the world, the Chinese referenced that because of their trust in the Biden family, that Chairman Yi and Director Zhang are excited about moving forward in this. And in that document, they reference loaning $5 million to the BD family.
Right.
The BD family is the Biden family.
What are the implications of this going forward? If Joe Biden is elected president, which could very well happen, how does this constrain his ability to deal with China?
Are you asking for my personal opinion?
I am. I'm asking for your opinion as someone who's worked with the Chinese.
So I think Joe Biden and the Biden family are compromised.
I think Joe Biden and the Biden family are compromised with China. Looks like he was right about that, and it looks like the Bidens are far from the only ones who've been compromised.
Isn't that interesting? So, as y'all can see, again, Joe Biden, right? The Chinese Communist Party wanted Joe Biden to be the next president because obviously Joe Biden, right, is in bed with them. And again, I'm alleging, how do we know this? Because the man keep on using the word democracy, right? He continues to try to push this agenda of democracy on the American people, even across the world. And again, Mao Zedong of the Chinese Communist Party said it. The first process, right, to establishing a communist society, the first revolution is the democratic revolution. Then you have the socialist revolution, and this has to happen before before a country can become communist.
That's why they was beating what's the old little guy named Sanders. That's why they was beating Sanders down, because Sanders was putting the cart before the horse.
Exactly.
He tried to put socialism. Whenever they were like, "Nah, we're not finished with democracy yet. The people, they not completely under it yet."
Exactly.
But we're close. We are real close to as people won't know what a republic is in the next 10, 15 years.
At the rate we're going.
That's the attack. And then if you see the time frame of what the video was saying, it's since 1970. That's when Nixon went to China after all those decades of us leaving China out of commerce. He went and put China into commerce across the planet, and China hit us with the art of war. Was real quiet, and now they're on the verge of taking over the planet militarily and commerce-wise by through the 1970s. So that's why the Wall Street, it says that the same video, the same guy was saying that Wall Street buying through Biden, that Wall Street couldn't buy Trump.
Donald Trump. Yep.
So it's really Wall Street. So that those are live players in Wall Street that manipulate our system of government, which is why I'm alleging we have the Supreme Court case law called Citizens United that allow all this money into our elections in order to corrupt us. So whoever has the most money will win, because they will have the most advertising dollars to manipulate a misinformed, unintelligent, miseducated people.
Exactly. And all of you people that voted for Joe Biden, please know that you also voted for the Chinese Communist Party to take over the world. This is what we're showing you. Now, for anybody that wants to assume that that video that was played by Tucker Carlson was not accurate, right? We have an article right here from the dailymail.com. And it says Trump tweets video of Chinese professor claiming that Beijing can swing U.S. policy because it has people at the top of America's core inner circle of power, in clip that has been deleted from social media in China. So just as fast as the Chinese put it up there, they deleted this, y'all. Right? They deleted it. And we have all heard that professor say it. He said that they had people at the top of America's core inner circle of power. They said that. Now check this out. We're not going to read this whole article, but I wanted to point out this one part, and I'm going to highlight it right here. That professor also noted how the Obama administration was easy to manipulate. He said it. The Obama administration was easy to manipulate. Now, who was President Barack Obama's, right? Who was his vice president? It was Joe Biden.
Yeah.
So you know that Joe Biden is in bed with these people, man. And if Barack Obama was easy to manipulate, trust and believe, Joe Biden is probably
easier, because he was already in bed with him buying through his son. And Trump was exposing him, but somehow there's a video whenever they was going into the Ukraine issue with his son. And then Trump was saying, yeah, you also need to check with China as well. You know what I'm saying? And then they come to find out that he was also, his son was also in bed with China, just like the guy that was being interviewed with Tucker Carlson would corroborate. So it's like a big, massive scheme. What's their end game? I'm not sure. I only have theories, but it doesn't appear to
communism.
To be the best interest of the people of the United States of America, of Americans.
Hey, Rodney, I believe it's communism. I believe the end game is for it to be maybe 500 top families here in America, just like they have in China, right? That own and control all of the commerce that country produce. I believe ultimately that is what they want to do here, man. The same thing. You know what I'm saying? Now, I could be wrong. This is just my theory, my opinion. That's all it is. And it's something to think about. You know what I'm saying? Because again, that Chinese professor put them, man, he put their asses out there, man. So I'm like,
you can easily see it. I mean, because you can easily see it by the way everyone has to work now. You know what I'm saying? The mother, the father, everybody got to work just to make a living. So that gap is widening right under our noses. You know what I'm saying? So people would say, I bought a house, my parents bought a house for $20,000 in the 60s, and in 2015 we could sell it for $250,000.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Example. So does that mean that the house appreciated, or does that mean the value of the dollar depreciated? You know what I'm saying? To a point where it takes $250,000 of today's money that's only worth $20,000 back then. So that's what we have to pay very, very close attention to, that the property is not getting value because the property is the same. It's the value of exchange, the medium of exchange that's being used in commerce that's not worth the paper's rental. It's written on. That's why everybody has to work. That's why kids are able to afford to buy shoes for $500. It's the same shoe that we paid $100 for.
Yep.
But now it's $500 for the same goddamn shoe. Is the shoe more valuable, or is the money worth is less, where you have to give more for the same shoe? So that's just something to look at.
Now I even feel like even more I understand what this whole bogus ass, outrageous, and sham of an impeachment trial was about. You know what I'm saying? They don't want him to come back because they know they're. I'm telling you, this shit is crazy,
had
man.
A petition.
Yeah,
they had a petition for you to sign a petition to stop him from running for office. So that's even more outside of the what the Constitution allows.
Exactly. But let's move on. Now, the article says, but Biden also warned against returning to the reflective opposition and rigid blocks of a cold war, saying while he welcomed competition with China, he did not see conflict. He called on other world leaders to join together to defend self-government and prove our model isn't a relic of history. Now, self-government is Republican form of government. That's why it's funny how he uses his words.
They're trying to call democracy what a republic is, but they're stripping parts of the republic and replacing it with their mobocracy. So it's they're sort of trying to, just because democracy really doesn't have representation, they just rule by the mob.
Yep.
So the fact that we still have representation, that's how they're trying to intertwine democracy and the republic, but it's for the detriment of the people, because the people are dumbed down, uninformed and unintelligent right now, and they're taking full advantage of it.
Exactly. Now, right here, he says we have to defend it. We must fight for it, strengthen it, renew it. Biden remarks to the Munich conference came just hours after he participated in a closed-door session with leaders of the G7 countries, which focused on the global response to the coronavirus pandemic and its crippling economic impacts. In a joint statement after the G7 meeting, other nations seemed to take up Biden's call, drawing on the strengths and values as democratic, open economies and societies. We will work together with others to make 2021 a turning point for multilateralism. The joint statement. Thank you. The joint statement said, and to shape a recovery that promotes the health and prosperity of our people and the planet. Now, again, it's amazing how he continues to use this word democracy, democratic, etc., when we do not have a democracy in America. See, we have to, and you know what I'm saying, Rodney? We're constantly beating this into all of our listeners' heads, because you have to understand this. That's a part of the game, the scheme that they're trying to pull on you. They want you to participate in the agenda to overthrow the republic. And that in the republic is where all of your protections from government reside. Now, it goes on and it says in a tweet, President of the EU Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, was effusive. The U.S. is back. So this is what the world is saying. Of course, they're gonna say the U.S. is back when they can pimp the U.S., when they can get our money, when they can use our money, take our money, all of our tax money, right? That has nothing to do with them. Of course, they happy that Biden is in office.
Yeah, Yeah, and all this is on the back of the people, because they're getting rich.
Exactly.
So as the wealth divide widens, I just hope it's not too late. You know what I'm saying? Before the people really wake up, because they have so many distractions where they're keeping up with this person, following this person, tweeting this person. They're pretty much putting us right in the Pied Piper, or in real time, to where they doing the little Pied Piper buying through social media, and most of the people doing are following. They following this person, they following this person, they seeking likes, they seeking attention.
Yep.
So that's a major distraction and disruption, and without even seeing how their freedoms are just continuously being stripped. It's not like it's been stripped all of a sudden. It's been happening over time, but now this is the information age. The information is here and it's being produced, but the problem is you don't have the wide frame. We can't reach the critical mass of people. The critical mass of people attention is somewhere other than pretty much what we're talking about and where we need to be. But it's not. It doesn't mean that we're not going to put this out there, because hopefully one day people will catch up.
Exactly. Now check this out, Rodney. I told everybody when we first started that I was going to pack this, right? And I'm gonna prove to you why I'm saying that Joe Biden is authoritarian. Why he's exactly what he say that he's fighting against, right? Now, right here, again, the title of this article is Biden warns democratic process is under assault from authoritarian regimes. Now, in my opinion, he is authoritarian. Now, we defined it. Authoritarian is forcing or enforcing strict obedience to authority, right? Especially that of a government at the expense of personal freedoms, right? So I'm alleging that Joe Biden is attempting to enforce strict obedience to the executive branch, right, at the expense of our Bill of Rights. That's what I'm alleging. And let me prove to you all why I'm saying that. Here we go. I have an article from the Washington Times, right? And the Washington Times is reporting that Biden's common sense gun law reforms are the lies of the anti-Second Amendment left. Now, just to give you all a background, right? Some of you all might not be aware, but Joe Biden plans to sign an executive order, right, that will allegedly reform some aspects of the Second Amendment. So he's attempting to take executive order action against our Bill of Rights. Now, make sense, right?
Yeah.
That sounds authoritarian to me. It sounds like he's a part of that same regime that he's supposed to be against.
And it's unconstitutional.
Yep.
But if you don't know it, you can't speak up.
It's an attack on the republic. Now check this out. It says President Biden, on the anniversary of the horrible tragedy called the Parkland school shootings, promised his administration will forever protect innocent Americans from similarly senseless crimes, and soon enough, with Democrats hold a majority in both House and Senate, pass common sense gun law reforms. What he means by that, of course, is the end of the Second Amendment as we know it. This is their plan. This administration will not wait for the next mass shooting to heed the call, Biden said. So this is what China Joe said, right? Or should I say Communist Joe? We will take action to end our epidemic of gun violence and make our schools and communities safer, Biden said. Today, I am calling on Congress to enact common sense gun law reforms, including requiring background checks on all gun sales, banning assault weapons in high-capacity magazines, and eliminating immunity for gun manufacturers who knowingly put weapons of war on our streets. Yeah, this is what he said, right? The article goes on and says, these are lies of the left. The truth, in rapid-fire fashion, is that America's epidemic of gun violence is not in the schools, but rather in the streets, in the gang-banging, drug-infested streets of mostly Democratic-controlled communities. And that is a fact. And if Biden and Democrats really wanted to stem the tide of gun-related violence with a common-sense approach, they go after the guns being carteled by lawmakers, being gangbangers and lawbreakers, being gangbangers and drug-dealing scum, and not those carried by law-abiding owners or legal owners. Now, I agree with that, because I'm like this: laws, right? Laws are put in place to keep honest people honest. Now, if a person is a criminal, it don't matter what the law say; they're gonna break it anyways.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So this is pretty much the article, right? But the point that I'm trying to make is this: is that Joe Biden is a dictator. He's operated the fashion of a dictator, and the reason why I'm saying that is because I have another article, right? And this is from Political Fact. And let me show you all something. Here we go. Joe Biden is authoritarian himself. He is. He is a totalitarian, man. He is. Everything that Thomas Sowell said is true about these people. Now check this out. It says Biden issued 17 executive orders on his first 2 days in office, compared with Trump, who issued 1, and Obama, who issued 2. Biden issued 3 proclamations, while Trump and Obama each issued 1. Now make that make sense. It sounds like to me he's trying to pass laws through executive order. But executive order are not laws. It's simply policy that the executive follows. That's all it is. But he's trying to operate as a dictator, as an authoritarian, as a totalitarian. That's how he's operating.
It's crazy. And Congress is sitting around and not doing their job and saying things like Congress can override a executive order.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? If they want to change gun laws, Congress and only Congress has the right to do it. But then the Constitution doesn't give them the authority to do it, because the Constitution has clearly, when it wants Congress to interfere and make laws to certain subjects, like the Article 4 of the Constitution. And there's other laws, laws within the Constitution where the founding thieves clearly state in the Constitution that, and Congress shall make laws to support what we're saying. But exactly. In the Second Amendment, it didn't say that. It just said the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. But it doesn't say that the way a person can bear arms can't be infringed. You know what I'm saying? So that's a loophole in the Constitution, and that's what they may be trying to do. But what's more dangerous is that if they're trying to outlaw high magazines, what they call an assault rifle, assault rifles, high power magazines, and those type of weapons for citizens, then the executive branch should not have those type of weapons as well.
Exactly. And we know that's not going to happen.
Sheriff departments, outside of military, no type of police officer should have the same type of guns that they're trying to outlaw the people from getting. So in other words, in my case, if the law enforcement are allowed to have these type of guns, so will I, if I choose to, despite what any executive order say or any so-called amendment to the Constitution, if it puts us less capable of defending against overreaching police state.
Check this out, Rodney. I've heard Judge Joe Brown actually he actually laid out the precedent before. I don't think I've screenshot it, but he actually discussed this. I want to say it was on Twitter before, about how every single, like all of the military issue weapons that the U.S. military has had, right, has always been a standard issue for the American people. So private citizens, as well as the police departments, have always been able to buy and carry the same weapons as our militaries, as far as like handguns and rifles. It's precedent on this.
That's how it should be. So I don't think either side should have all those extra weapons.
Right.
It doesn't take all those AR-15s to protect yourself, to bear arms. You know what I'm saying? So we should be protecting each other. Like the citizens should be able to arm themselves against intruders, as well as the overreaching police force. The police force should not be able to come in a community and outgun the citizens they have a duty to protect. Right. So yeah, that's
Facts. But hey, Rodney, I gotta throw this out there. I ain't handing over my AR-15s. You know, shit. You know what I'm saying? But I say this though, man. I think we laid out a very strong case that President Joe Biden, right, is actually, you know, he has some type of agenda, you know, of why he's always referring to our country as a democracy. I think we laid out there very clear that democracy is the first revolution that leads to a communist revolution. I think we laid out there that very well that we have a republic here in America, not a democracy. And I think that we most importantly laid out the fact that President Joe Biden is just as authoritarian as what he claimed these other regimes are that's trying to assault America. So I think we laid it out pretty well.
Yeah, to me, what's most damning for not only Biden, but way back to 92 in specific, not including the 1970 that the Republican government through Nixon actually let them in. But the video with the Chinese professor, he actually put, he said like 1992, that's the Clinton administration.
Yep.
Up until 2016, which is the Obama administration, which includes the younger Bush. That's the only Republican during that time frame, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
so
you're
that's
right.
so,
You're right.
So is it not under the same? Let me think how I want to say it. And you wonder why the Obamas and Bushes are so friendly. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You know, so they're part of that same 1992 to 2016 run that, you know, that China was really, and that's when the Citizens United case law through that same time period. So if we look from that time period, what happened from that time period, the crime bill, lock everybody up. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of stuff that happened from 1992 to 2016. If now you have a time frame you can look at buying through this video is very damning for the country, for Wall Street, for those who participate in the democracy. It's it's something that we need to unpack as a people, as a citizenry, to kind of take a look at. But many people won't hear because they're not hurting enough. So you know what I'm saying? So once they hurt enough, I guess, then they will start to come out of that drogginess and say, hey, what's going on? But by that time, it'll be much too late.
I agree. I mean, I think this was another hot show. Again, I'd like to tell all of our listeners, we appreciate you all of the awesome responses we've been getting, all of the new subscribers. We're thankful.
I'm kind of, we have to give thanks for that as well, because those who are listening, they're actually taking it serious.
Yes.
So we appreciate what you appreciate, and we're going to keep bringing it, and we just need to share, like, and subscribe to make others like-minded. We can't change the critical mass, although that's who we're reaching out to, but through word of mouth, the critical mass can hopefully be awoken before it's too late, because it's right here in our face. It's just being presented in a manner we don't understand.
Absolutely.
Many of us don't.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Peace.
All right, peace.
We'll catch y'all on the next one.
All right.